Hello there. Welcome to the Saraway channel, wherever you are in the world. And so much love to each and every one of you. What an exciting story we have tonight. Because Chantel took a bath, a leisurely bath, and there was so much mist in the bathroom. And she closed her eyes. She was drinking about 3 glasses of wine in that bath, really enjoying herself, luxuriating, because her family was all away and she had the house to herself. But then she has a distinct impression that someone was standing in the bathroom doorway staring at her. And then there is a message in the mist on her bathroom mirror which says, "Hi." And she noticed her dog had been locked up in the kitchen. So she's certain someone has been in the house, but the police have been around to the property and there's no sign of anybody. So she's invited her friend to stay the night with her because she doesn't want to be alone. So let's see where the story takes us. But before we get any further, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell and the thumbs up, and let's get started with tonight's story. The officers say their goodbyes, and Chantel thanks them for their help. She cannot help but feel a tad foolish calling them around to the house, when there was no sign whatsoever of a break-in. Fee looks solemn for a moment as she stares up at Chantel. "What the hell is going on?" she asks. "You called me over to spend the night with you, and the police have just left. Is everything all right?" Chantel hangs her head in shame as she tells her friend about the ambiguous figure in the bathroom. "I'm sure I saw him. I mean, you know me. Baths, well, they're so steamy for me. But I saw an ambiguous figure standing there. But I was absolutely sure I saw someone. I could see the eyes staring at me. And there were features to the face. But then I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, he was gone. And now I'm wondering if I imagined it all. I feel so foolish for calling the police around. They probably think I'm neurotic. But I genuinely feel rather affrighted about what happened." Fee frowns and shakes her head. "That's not good. You think you saw someone watching you while you were bathing. That would freak me the hell out. You think someone broke into the house, do you?" "Well, I keep telling you, Fee, there was no sign of a break-in," said Chantel. "The police checked, and no one is here. But how do you explain Big Boy being locked up in the kitchen when he was in the bathroom with me? And how do you explain the writing in the condensation on my bathroom mirror? It said hi. Of course, it's not there anymore, so I can't prove it to you. But it was there, I promise you." "You've had some wine tonight, haven't you?" Fee said almost accusingly. "How much did you drink, Chantel?" "I had 3 glasses of Cabernet Sauvignon. It's no big deal. I admit I'm a bit tiddly, but that's about it." "It is a big deal, Chantel. You could be seeing things that aren't actually there. Drink can do that to you, you know. Maybe you imagined the shadow. Maybe you wrote hi in the condensation in your bathroom mirror yourself. And maybe you accidentally locked up Big Boy in the kitchen. It happens." "But I didn't, Fee. I promise you I didn't. I think someone was in the house." "Never mind," said Fee, enveloping Chantel in a warm hug. "I'm here now, and that's all that matters. And if it makes you feel any better, I'll sleep in your bedroom with you tonight. We'll share a bed together. But I'm quite sure there's nothing to worry about, and that nothing untoward actually happened." "Thanks, Fee. You're a real brick. I don't know what I would do without you. You're a good friend to me." "Well, I've got nothing else to do, have I? The husband exchanged me for a new model, and all I've got is 4 walls to keep me company. So I might as well keep you company tonight. How about I make us some popcorn, and we can watch a movie together, even though it is quite late?" "It sounds like a good deal to me," said Chantel happily. "I'm so glad you came, Fee. I don't want to be alone after being creeped out like this. But you're right. I probably did imagine it all. I do feel like a fool calling the police out like this, but they were so good to me. They didn't make me feel at all embarrassed about the whole thing." "Don't chastise yourself about this. And don't feel foolish, Chantel. These things happen. And as far as I'm concerned, it's better to always err on the side of caution when you're wary about something. But if it makes you feel better, I don't think anyone's been in your house tonight. I mean the combination of the hot bath you had, and of course the alcohol, could easily make you see things that aren't there."
"Well, you're probably right, Fee. You usually are. I'm never going to live this down, am I?"
"No, you're not. I'm going to tease you mercilessly for the rest of your life on this." Chantel and Fee happily sat back on the couch, watching television together in their PJs. "I'm hungry," said Fee very suddenly. "You haven't got anything for me to warm up, perhaps? I've got the munchies."
"How can you be so thin?"
says Chantel.
"How often do you eat midnight snacks like this? I may remind you. After that movie, we'd eaten the whole bucket of popcorn, and you're still hungry."
"I always get the munchies at night," said Fee sheepishly. "I eat a lot at night, you know. But you're a fine one to talk. You're also thin."
"I may be slim, but I don't eat late at night normally. If I ate like you and had midnight munchies, I'm quite sure I'd be very voluptuous. I always watch my figure. But if I didn't, and I ate what you did, I'd probably be the size of a beluga whale, and I'm not exaggerating either. Anyway, if it makes you feel better, I have got some Chinese takeout in the fridge from earlier on in the evening. I can warm some of that up for you if you'd like."
"Sounds perfect," says Fee. "I love Chinese takeout." When Chantel opens the refrigerator to take out the Chinese takeaways, she looks somewhat confounded and amused as she opens the takeout boxes and piles some of the takeout on a plate for her friend to enjoy. "What's wrong?" asked Fee. "You've gone as white as a sheet. Is everything all right?"
"I'm not sure it is, actually. I could swear I had enough Chinese takeaway left for 4 people to eat. And now half of it appears to have gone missing."
Fee laughs at Chantel. "More like you don't want to admit how much you actually ate earlier on this evening. People underestimate how much they eat, you know. And that Chinese takeout, well, it's addictive, isn't it?"
"I suppose you're right,"
said Chantel, feeling rather flustered.
"I think I must be losing my mind. Remind me never to drink alcohol again."
It was at about 12:30 that the two women finally returned to bed that night. Fee had agreed to sleep in the king-size bed with Chantel, as Chantel certainly didn't want to be left alone in her bedroom, without Fee for company, for she really did feel on edge, for she could not shake the feeling that someone was watching her. The bizarre events of the evening had certainly worn her to a frazzle, and she felt absolutely exhausted. She knew she didn't imagine the dark shadow in the corner of the bathroom. Or did she? Was she actually losing her mind? What about the writing on the steamy mirror, and the fact that Big Boy was locked up in the kitchen? Something didn't feel right about any of this. It was at 3 o'clock in the morning that Fee let out a huge ear-piercing scream, and it was so shrill that Chantel woke up with a start, feeling certain that she had woken up to a house invasion, and she was about to see men wearing balaclavas, pointing a gun at her and asking her where the safe could be found. But instead, Fee was sitting up abruptly in bed, her body shaking like a leaf, her face devoid of any colour. The bedroom was still very dark, as the morning had not yet risen. So dark shadows danced around the room, and everything was ambiguously vague. But Fee kept pointing towards the doorway. "He was over there!" she cried out. "I saw the dark shadow! Big Boy followed it out of the bedroom, but it was standing there staring at me. Oh my God, Fee! Oh my God! I've just seen a ghost! I've seen a ghost! Your house! It's haunted!" This time it was Chantel's face that had gone white.
"You saw a ghost? But are you sure?" she asked.
"Of course I'm sure, Chantel. I was sleeping. I woke up with the feeling that someone was watching me. I sat up very abruptly in bed. That's when I saw him. It was like an ambiguous dark shadow, but I saw his face and his features, and I knew it was a man standing there. He was looking at me, looking directly at me. He was washed in a bluish light, and then he floated out of the bedroom because Big Boy followed him. He wasn't scared of the apparition, can you believe that? Dogs are normally spooked by ghosts. I think you didn't imagine what you saw in the bathroom, Chantel. There's a ghost in your house. Believe me, there is. Look at me. I'm shaking like a leaf. I can't even stop myself.
I can't believe what's just happened. I saw a ghost, Chantel. I believe you, Fee, said Chantel. Maybe when we did the kitchen renovation in our house, we stirred something up. I must admit, my daughter was very insistent we had a ghost. And you know what she's like. I always thought that she's had an overactive imagination. I thought the idea was preposterous. I was sure we just had a rat problem. Russell's been intending to put some traps up in the attic for a long time. But you know what he's like. He always puts off today what he can do tomorrow, and when tomorrow comes he never does it at all. So he hasn't got around to doing it. But maybe there is more to this enigmatic mystery than actually meets the eye. Well, there is, obviously, said Fee. It seems to me that Ella is the only one in your household that is a little discerning. She believed the house is haunted for a long time, but you never listened to her, Chantel. Why didn't you listen to your daughter? I didn't listen to her, Fee, because it didn't make any sense to me at all. You didn't listen, Chantel, because you refuse to believe ghosts are real. Isn't that the truth? Well, maybe that is true to an extent, but you have to admit it. It's a little far-fetched to believe that our house is haunted. Far-fetched? Is that how you see it? Said Fee, raising a brow. Look at you, Chantel. You see a dark shadow in your bathroom. It freaks you the hell out. To such an extent you called the police around. And yet you still stubbornly refuse to entertain the possibility that there just might be a ghost in your house after all. And that maybe Ella is right about this. Oh, don't paint me out to be such a cynic, Fee. I told you, didn't I, that maybe I was wrong about the rat problem. You say you saw a ghost last night, so maybe you did. And maybe my house is haunted. I just don't want to believe it, that's all. Finally she gets it, said Fee triumphantly. I told you I saw a ghost last night. There is no doubt in my mind. And it's not such a preposterous idea as you might think. Think about it, Chantel, long and hard. This house of yours is 300 years old. That's old. It stands to reason it could be haunted. We need to get someone over to your house at once to find out what is going on here. The ghost standing there in the bedroom and watching you in the bath is not appropriate. I don't care if he's dead or not. It's not right. And then he writes high on the bathroom mirror. That would freak me the hell out if it happened to me. You need to find out exactly what this ghost wants from you, and why he appears to be reaching out to you like this by writing you messages on the bathroom mirror. We need to get to the bottom of this mystery, Chantel. I hate mysteries that aren't solved, and leave you second-guessing yourself. We need answers, and we need them now. The one thing that Chantel loved about Fee was she was the kind of faithful friend you always wanted to have around when things went awry. She was the world's best organizer, and after doing some extensive research online, she had managed to persuade a psychic medium called Maria Garcia to come around, who had said she could only come over to the house the following week. But Fee had masterfully persuaded the woman to come around at once, and against all the odds, Maria had agreed. Fee was one of those movers and shakers who got things done in a fraction of the time that other people did. She could get anyone to agree to almost anything. I'm just very concerned about my friend, Mrs. Garcia. Very concerned, she told Maria on the phone. The apparition has been watching my friend while she baths in the bathroom. He's been writing notes in the steam on her bathroom mirror and locking her dog up in her kitchen. I saw the ghost myself this morning, Mrs. Garcia. At about 3 o'clock, I believe it was. He was standing in the doorway of the bedroom, watching the both of us. I'm pretty sure it was a male presence. That was the feeling I got. It looked to me to be the shape of a man. I'm very concerned about my friend's safety, Mrs. Garcia. You must come around at once. I don't think my friend will be able to sleep at night if she doesn't find out what's going on in our household. She's very, very shaken, and now would be a good time to come, because her husband is away, and her children are staying with a friend. If that is the case, I will make an exception to the rule for once. I will be at your residence after lunch in the afternoon sometime. I will see you then. Maria Garcia was true to her word. She arrived at the Kramer residence later that afternoon, at approximately 2 o'clock, and Big Boy gave her an effusive welcome,
as he did with everyone he met, as such was his gregarious nature. Maria Garcia had black hair that was cut in a pixie style. She had friendly brown eyes and high cheekbones. She was an attractive woman, and was wearing a pair of crop black pants and a smart, well-fitted long black t-shirt. She was also wearing an interesting piece of jewellery around her neck that she claimed was a replica of Viking jewellery. When she knocked on the door, Fee had opened it to her and practically hugged the woman. She had been so thrilled to see her. As unfortunately Fee, who was not versed in the world of the paranormal, was under the misleading impression that once a psychic arrived at your doorstep to investigate a paranormal event, that all your troubles would magically disappear, and that Maria Garcia would send the ghost packing over to the other side. But she didn't seem to understand that psychics don't always fix your problems, and not all ghosts are so easily expunged from places when they appear to be determined to stay. "I'm so grateful, Mrs. Garcia, that you came all this way at such short notice. It's so good of you. I've been so worried about my friend here, Chantel. Last night she was in quite the state, let me tell you. She even called the police around to the property. She was taking a bath, you see. She thought she saw a figure standing in the doorway of her bathroom watching her. At first she thought it was an intruder, but the police found nothing during their investigation. I hate to say this, but I thought Chantel might have had way too much to drink last night. She almost knocked back an entire bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon while she was soaking in the bath. So I thought the effects of the alcohol, well, the dizzying effects, might have been playing tricks on her imagination. But last night, Mrs. Garcia, I saw the shadowy figure of the ghost in the room myself. The very same shadow that Chantel must have seen in the bathroom. This thing was creepy. It was there 1 minute and gone the next. But I knew in that moment, Mrs. Garcia, that I'd seen a ghost. I'm certain of it. There is no doubt in my mind." "Well, that is ghosts for you," said Mrs. Garcia. "But judging by the note Mrs. Kramer read in the mist on the bathroom mirror, saying hi, I don't think this is a ghost that poses a threat. It's probably a friendly ghost trying to reach her. But no one wants a ghost to be watching them while they bath. That really is crossing the boundaries. If a person didn't have boundaries in life, it is unlikely they will have them in the afterlife. We don't change just because we die. Some ghosts have unfinished business, which is why they don't cross over. There are others that need a gentle nudge, 'cause they don't even know that they are dead. While some of them know that they've been very bad in this life, and they're afraid to cross over. They're afraid of the judgment of hell, you see." "You think this ghost is reaching out to Chantel? Sending her a message on the bathroom mirror like that, perhaps?" "Look, it's not wise to run before we walk. For a start, we have not established whether this house is haunted or not," said Mrs. Garcia. "I will be honest. I never felt anything on my drive to your house. And when I arrived, I do usually get a sense when a place is haunted. But everything felt very benign to me. Sometimes, even when I drive to a location, I get a sense of what I might find when I get to that place. But I hasten to say I've been drawing blanks today, which is a tad unusual for me. When that happens, I have to investigate the very big possibility that something else might be responsible for making you believe that your house is haunted. I have one client, for example, who was adamant her house was haunted. It turned out the medication she was taking was having a hallucinogenic effect on her. So you see, a haunting isn't necessarily always about a ghost." "Well, it's not benign, Mrs. Garcia," said Fee resolutely. "And neither me or Chantel are hallucinating. We don't take medications. The two of us saw a ghost in one night. It locked Big Boy up in the kitchen. And if it did that, what else is it capable of doing? I'm telling you, Mrs. Garcia, even Chantel's daughter, Ella, knows that there is a ghost in this house. She hears footsteps in the attic in the middle of the night. Chantel thought it was rats, didn't you, Chantel? But after everything that happened last night, we're not sure what is going on."
Interesting that you say that, said Mrs. Garcia. Maybe we have a reticent ghost that doesn't want to make himself known. Sometimes that happens, which is why I haven't picked up on his or her energy yet. But I will be able to in due course, once I've looked around your house. I will tell you I will take a walk around this place, see what I pick up. I will need to go up into the attic if I may, as well. You claim your daughter heard footsteps up in the attic, and that would not be a surprise to me. Ghosts like to hang out in dark places, where they won't be disturbed. Sometimes I find a rational explanation that has nothing to do with a haunting. From rats to pipes that make noises. So we will see, shall we, what this paranormal activity is about. You say you recently renovated your kitchen. Another interesting fact. When did you say you renovated your kitchen, Mrs. Kramer? It was about 3 months ago. That was when my daughter Ella started to tell me that she heard the boots strutting around the attic. I just thought it was rats, as you do, you know. Well, very interesting. You ladies stay exactly where you are in the kitchen. Make yourself some tea. I'll be back in a moment after I've taken myself on the grand tour around your lovely home.
A while later, Mrs. Garcia came into the kitchen. She took a seat at the kitchen table. Mrs. Kramer gave her a cup of hot coffee, which she took gratefully.
I don't know what to say, Mrs. Kramer. I wish I could put light on this rather bizarre situation for you. But I am still drawing blanks. I'm not picking up the energy of any dead people in your home.
You're not? Asked Chantel.
But are you sure about that? Very sure, Mrs. Kramer. I did pick up the energy signature of the old couple that died in this house, but they crossed over to the other side a long time ago. They have nothing to do with the idiosyncratic events you both experienced last night. I'm sorry, but I'm not picking up on anything. I did go into the attic and found a few rat droppings in there. Maybe the rumblings you've heard in the roof have had an earthly explanation after all. You could get a few traps set up in your attic. You might be able to sort the problem out.
But what about the shadow I saw in the bedroom this morning? I know it was a ghost. What else could it have been? Said Fee, looking somewhat bemused.
Look, Mrs. Ricklesford, the power of suggestion is extraordinary. In my line of work, I've seen its powers convincing people their houses are haunted when they are not. You came over here last night to stay with your good friend because you had a big scare. Is that not right?
That's right.
You thought that there had been an intruder in the house, possibly, and when you woke up early in the morning, in the hazy light of the bedroom, you saw a dark shadow. That shadow could have been anything, but you assumed it was a ghost. Maybe you, without wishing to dismiss your experiences last night, maybe you both saw things that weren't there. The power of suggestion is very, very, very powerful. You could have had a trick of the light, perhaps.
I didn't imagine what I saw, Mrs. Garcia, said Fee indignantly. I know it was a ghost. I know it was.
Maybe you did see a ghost, Mrs. Ricklesford, said Mrs. Garcia kindly. But as I say, I'm not picking up on anything. Keep me posted if anything else happens, will you?
And with that she said her farewells, leaving both Chantel and Fee wondering if they were going completely doodle-addly, and that all the bizarre experiences from the previous night had all but been in their imagination. Was it possible the power of the mind could be that convincing that they could make up things in their head that weren't even there? The idea seemed incredulous, but if Maria Garcia had found nothing, it must mean both Fee and Chantel were allowing their vivid imaginations to lead them astray. Michael,
The first time I laid eyes on Chantal Kramer, I was smitten. Completely smitten. There are no words to describe how fixated, how obsessed I became over the woman, for she occupied my every waking thought, and no one has impacted my life so dramatically, like she did. As morning, noon, and night, she was all I could ever think about, and when I was at school I would daydream about her, so my grades began to plummet quite catastrophically, and the teachers were wondering why I was failing to concentrate in class, as I've always been an excellent pupil. So dropping from straight A's to C's was very noticeable. I was dragged away to the headmaster's office on numerous occasions to explain my flagging grades. He told me I was becoming lazy and should pull my socks up, as the teachers were reporting that I was no longer appearing to concentrate in class and seemed to be miles and miles away in dreamland. He went on to ask me if there were problems at home, which I assured him that there was not. How could I possibly tell him I was head over heels in love with the most beautiful woman in the entire world? Had I told him such a thing, he'd tell me to get a grip, to focus on my schoolwork, if I wanted to make something of my life. I was 16 years old at the time. I was in Robert's year at school, and when I first saw Chantal Kramer at the swimming gala, cheering for her son, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, quite literally. There were two big catches, of course, for me, that would have made a relationship with Chantal Kramer a little on the challenging side. Some might say close to impossible, as what does a 16-year-old boy have in common with a 40-year-old woman? For a start, she was old enough to be my mother, and secondly, she was a married woman, married to a man called Russell, that I unfortunately had the displeasure of seeing around town from time to time. He was not much to look at, an older version of his son Robert, you could say, who was no oil painting, let me tell you. Both Russell and Robert possessed that dull, dirty blonde hair that appears almost lifeless, along with complementary grey-coloured eyes that were rather watery in my opinion. Russell Kramer didn't appear to be sporty at the time. He had quite a noticeable overhang on his pants, which suggested he hadn't seen a gym in a decade, and he probably ate far too much rich food on his travels, which did him no favours. As far as I was concerned, he was a loser in every sense of the word. Chantal Kramer, on the other hand, she was hot stuff, let me tell you. But what she saw in that great big whopping lump of lard, she chose to marry. God only knows. As far as I'm concerned, the woman deserved so much better than that man. And he was always away on business apart from anything else, visiting hotels around North America. I couldn't believe he'd abandon his beautiful wife for the sake of going off to evaluate hotels and bed and breakfasts around the country. I mean, how pathetic is that? Why did he not do a normal 9-to-5 job like any self-respecting normal person would do, so that he could return to his lovely wife every evening? Let's just say if I had a wife as beautiful as Chantal, I wouldn't let her out of my sight for a single second. I wouldn't want a beautiful wife of mine to be ensnared in anybody else's net. And let's not kid, there really are some creeps out there. I remember when I saw Chantal Kramer for the first time, I couldn't believe she was Robert's mother. You would never believe it in an entire month of Sundays. But I suppose even Cinderella can give birth to a toad, especially if that toad is impregnated with the DNA from Russell Kramer. I remember looking up at Chantal Kramer at that swimming gala. She must have sensed someone was watching her. She turned around and caught my eye. She cast me such a warm, glowing smile that it turned my insides into jelly. Perhaps she thought I was a friend of Robert's and was just being polite towards me. But I do like to think she was smiling at me personally, almost as if she could feel the sparks of electricity flying between the two of us, for I certainly felt them. Chantal Kramer's emerald green eyes did something to me that day. And when I say emerald green, I do not exaggerate. Her eyes were as mesmerizing as the ocean. Everything about that woman was as close to perfect as you could possibly get. From the moment I laid eyes on her, I knew I had to be around this woman 24/7, and this could not be negotiated. But how could I get close to her, was the million-dollar question I asked myself over and over again. I remember asking Robert about his mother, after that swimming gala. He gave me a funny laugh and a weird kind of look, as if he thought I was some kind of pervert.
he said. "Not you too. Everybody fancies my mother. But she's happily married, thank you very much. And sorry, Michael," he said, rolling his eyes at me. "But she'd never be interested in the likes of you anyway. She's got much more taste than that." I knew it was meant as a joke, but I wanted to thump him, let me tell you, for saying that. But then let's just say that Robert has always been a douchebag, so there was no point in sugarcoating anything. It turns out Chantal Kramer drew the short straw when she gave birth to her son and when she married her husband, who are mirror images of each other, with the same unfortunate sarcastic personalities. The type of people that think they're desperately funny when they're really not. They laugh at their own jokes, but nobody laughs along with them. I will say that Ella Kramer, who is Chantal's daughter, luckily didn't inherit any of Russell's unfortunate toad-like genes. She resembles her mother a lot, but unfortunately for her she lacks Chantal's elegant grace that can't be replicated. I know a real princess when I see one, and Mrs. Kramer, she's all woman. If Robert thought he was going to put me off his mother with his sarky comments, well, he could think again. He was in for a rude awakening, I thought at the time. When I want something, I've always had a habit of getting exactly what I want, and what I wanted more than anything in the world was to get close to Mrs. Kramer, even if I just got a whiff of her perfume. Or I could watch her from a distance, and that would indulge my fantasies. But there was nothing warped, dirty, or lustful about my fantasies. My fantasies were much deeper than that. And what's wrong with fancying someone old enough to be your mother, I ask you? If they're your soulmate, there's nothing wrong with it at all. And at the time I emphatically believed just that Chantal Kramer was my soulmate. Why was I sure of this? Well, for a start, no one I'd ever met in my entire life had jolted my heart like Chantal Kramer had. There was something about that woman that oxygenated every single cell in my entire body and made the air I breathed so much sweeter. Before I ever laid eyes on the likes of Chantal Kramer, I was living a pretty mediocre humdrum life, the life of a pupil at senior high, going to school from one day to the next. But after seeing her, I realized I'd only been living half a life. Chantal was everything to me. I knew it in the quintessential moment I saw her, that this woman was something pretty special, and how the likes of Russell had landed up with someone as perfect as her was something I'd never be able to fathom, for the man had no endearing qualities whatsoever. In the beginning, at every opportunity I got after school, I followed Mrs. Kramer around wherever she went, in my beat-up old Mazda that my father gave me. She went into libraries, shops, and you name it. She went everywhere, and even into the grocery store. There were times she would turn around to look behind her back, almost as if she sensed someone was following her. She wasn't wrong about that. I remember once when Chantal Kramer's white SUV had been taken into her dealership to have some work done on it. She caught the bus that day, probably to save money on transportation costs, as I assume she was quite a thrifty woman. I got on the bus and sat right next to her. I couldn't believe how close I was to her. I could smell her exquisite perfume, which I've since learned is Chanel No. 5. I could have reached out and touched her, but I didn't. We exchanged smiles, and she began to look through her cell phone, as people tend to do. And I watched her giggling as she was reading someone's message that they had written to her, which she texted a reply. And her smile was so beautiful that it almost took my breath away. So there we are. That is the end of part 2 of our story. Part 3 is tomorrow night, and I look forward to you joining me then. Until next time, goodbye and good night.